Over the last couple of years, we've seen an explosion of multi-tools from a lot of different brands, and some have really put the screws down on the major brands and their lineup. And today I want to talk about the challengers, the Leatherman killers, if you will, or potential Leatherman killers. We're going to talk about why they're important going into the tier list that we'll cover tomorrow. And with that, let's get started. So we're specifically going to talk about Leatherman in this video, but don't kid yourself. These tools also impact the other major brands as well, including SOG, Victorinox, and Gerber. But the reason we're referring specifically to Leatherman is that they are still the kings. They are still the #1 multi-tool brand when it comes to plier-based multi-tools. That's just the reality. The Leatherman Wave is still the best-selling multi-tool of all time. They have some of the longest running, successful multi-tools that exist. That's why we're talking about them specifically. Anything that impacts them is going to impact everyone below them also. So let's begin with the modular tool systems. So the GOAT tool has been out for a little while now, and the Roxxon Flex is coming out in June of this year. Both of these systems have a lot of potential, okay? And it was my original opinion that the GOAT tool may displace some of the tools that are already in existence from many of the major companies' lineups. Turns out that wasn't really very accurate. If anything, what the GOAT tool and eventually the Roxxon are probably going to do is cater to a group of people that weren't really represented. Those who are left-handers, those who don't want blades in their tools, those who want to customize it for their day, who like that kind of tinkering. There really hasn't been anything to give them that option, scratch that itch, if you will. And so for people like me who love doing exactly that, these are going to end up being great choices, but even I choose to carry things like, I don't know, the MX clip most days because I don't want to think about what's in my tool. And so I don't know if they actually compete one-on-one with anything that's already in their lineups. We'll come back to them at some other day and talk about more of what they offer to the market. But for now, we're going to focus on what we have on the table. Starting with the Leatherman Wave, the best-selling multi-tool of all time, which honestly has felt a little beaten up over the last couple years. We've seen so many Leatherman Wave clones appear ever since the patents have expired in 2019. Started with the Multi-Force from Ozark Trail and has continued and blown up. Basically, you can find these types of clones on Amazon, on AliExpress, and they range in price between $25 and $40. Some of them are actually quite good, very surprising how good they are. And it's hurting them. I know that this is a big problem for Leatherman, and they need to respond as soon as they can. And I think they have done more damage to themselves than anything else. And it starts with this right here. It starts with the bit system. The Leatherman bit system uses proprietary flat bits, and the only place you can buy them at this point is Cabela's in-store or online, and Amazon, and Leatherman's website. There are other retailers, but in general, they're all online. You can't walk in and replace a bit that you have broken in your adventures very easily. That has really, really hurt them. And then on top of it, they have increased the price substantially. It used to be you could get the kit for around $30. I think it might even have been cheaper than that at some point. Now they're $36 on top of being harder to find, and they still aren't covered by a 25-year warranty. They're incredibly soft, and they break very easily. I have, in fact, 3 complete Leatherman bit kits that are all missing a T6, T8 bit because I break them every 3rd or 4th use. That's a problem. Meanwhile, you have the clones, which are using full 1/4-inch bits. It's one of the reasons they're a little bit heavier. They have more space here and a little bit thicker plier heads. They have standard 1/4 inch ball detent bits, and you can go to any Lowe's right now and buy a Klein driver with the same system, and Bob's your uncle. For less money, you have a complete bit kit and also a screwdriver to go along with your multi-tool. That's a big problem. You can also just install a 6mm by 1mm disc magnet, and then you can use this with a standard 1/4 inch setup as well. Once again, big problems for Leatherman. This is one thing that isn't a one-to-one, and in every case I can imagine, I would rather have the full 1/4 inch driver than have the proprietary one, period. And that is really hurting them. And then on top of it, even the blades are 7CR17, which isn't that far behind 420HC as far as performance. Is this going to be as good a quality control as the Leatherman? Absolutely not. And also, Leatherman's, they have a 40-year warranty if you register and buy it on their website. So there's still plenty of hope for Leatherman to do the right thing. And all they have to do in this case is take the lessons they have learned over the last couple of years, especially with the Leatherman Arc, and give us the tool set we've been wanting for a very long time. Take that out the serrated blade, give us an outside accessible scissor, a nice big durable one like the Surge, put that reamer all on the inside instead of the scissor, and Bob's your uncle. We have a tool set that we've been asking for forever, right? Do it, make it happen, okay? They have shown tools like the Curl, tools like the Bond that utilize the old systems can still sell really well, regardless of whether the patents are expired or not. They need to take a look at the tools that have been doing well, figure out what improvements they can make to them, and immediately make those improvements. That's what they should be doing, instead of letting these kind of wallow and stay in the same orientation that they've had for 20 years. You got it, well, not quite 20 years. I mean, this has been around for less time, but you get my point. It needs to be improved on. Never more than what's happening with the Leatherman Surge. Now, I want to move on from these. Let's talk about the Leatherman Surge. Over the last year or two, we have seen the Leatherman Surge clone. Now, this is the king of multi-tools. Let's be clear. This is the king of multi-tools. It's really hard to challenge this tool. In fact, this tool is so legendary. 6 of the 10 contestants, I believe, on season 10 of Alone took this tool into the wild instead of a fixed blade. That's how good the Leatherman Surge is, okay? So let's not mince words. It's still the king, but the king is getting old. And if they don't do something soon, it's going to be a really big problem. Now, this was exacerbated by the fact that they've replaced the cutters with a worse version. And for people who use their tools really hard, they're going to notice the difference. And then on top of it, the price has been dramatically increased from $120 up to $150. This tool does not come with a bit kit or a bit extender. Those are all additional costs. So you're looking at about $186 just to add the bit kit, and then $206 if you add the $20 bit extender on top of it. Meanwhile, you have the clones, which are about $35 to $40. They have 7CR blade steel. They have the bit drivers, the basic same tool set, and they come with 1/4 inch bits, which are already better than anything Leatherman currently makes. The bit system Leatherman makes are not good. They're too soft. They bend too easy. And being able to use standard 1/4 inch bits, kind of a big deal. And they're missing out. And that's not even including the fact that you can use the bit driver to actually drive 1/4 inch nuts as well. Now this one's a little bit angled. It would probably need to be adjusted a little bit, but can it? Yes, it can drive 1/4 inch nuts on top of it. Something that the Leatherman can't do at all. They have to answer for this. They have to start doing something. It really is important. And the reason we're talking about this now, tomorrow before we do our tier list, we're going to refer to these again, which is why this video is going to be important. I'll put a link to that tier list live stream. I'll also be doing a more condensed video edit eventually, but this is important, right? This is definitely something they got to improve on. And it's not just the Surge. The Super Tool 300 is just freaking amazing, but they haven't made a single improvement or change or added a new tool to their heavy-duty lineup in more than a decade, I think, at this point. I'm pretty sure it's been more than a decade. There is the Super Tool 300, the Surge, and was the Crunch, and now that has been discontinued as well. They have to do something unless they want to give up on this market entirely, especially as Gerber, which has their center drive and their dual force, they keep getting better, and they keep getting very close. They have to do something and do something real quick. Now, that's not the only thing challenging Leatherman right now, or any of the other brands. Roxxon has been really stepping up their game, and they've been making elite versions of their less good multi-tools, and I want to talk about that and their comparison. This is the Flash Elite. Now, this is like the S802E, I think is what it's called. And what makes this tool so good, first and foremost, they improved everything over the past generation. Instead of having a 5CR blade, we have D2 blade steel, which is quite a bit better. It's got a liner lock, and yes, I can even flick it open if you really want to. The other thing that they do that really only the Free Series has is they have all one-handed accessible tools. I can easily do this one-handed, press this button up, and it deploys all of the implements. How great is that? And it has a secondary function. Once it's locked in place, you press the opposite direction and unlocks the tool. How elegant is that? It's really cool. And on top of it, it's really simple in the mechanism, so not much can really go wrong here. So they've done a good job on that front as well. In addition to that, it has a saw, which I think I can, no, not quite. I can almost reverse flick. I think, there you go, boom. I can reverse flick the knife, the saw. It's a good saw. It's tapered the way it should be. It's longer than its competitor, which is, of course, the Leatherman Sidekick. So actually, this is one of the few tools from this lineup I really like from Leatherman. I'm not a big fan of the Wingman. I think the curl's just better. But when it comes to the Sidekick, it didn't really have a competitor until now. And the problem is that the Sidekick has more than doubled in price. It was $30. It's now $70. Meanwhile, the Roxxon is $43. And it comes with a spare set of cutters, which I'm not showing. But it comes with a case and a spare set of cutters. It's not a one-to-one per se because it is a little bit heavier, but for that, you get replaceable cutters and a really nice spring-loaded plier that works far better than the one on the Leatherman Sidekick. In fact, this is where I'm going to say to Leatherman, you got to step up your game. This plier head, which is on the Wingman, the bolster, and the Sidekick, has had major quality control issues. I bought 15 Leatherman bolsters from Costco that I was gonna give away to people on this channel over the last couple of years, like a year ago when I got it. It was maybe 2 years ago. I had to return 7 of those tools because the cutters right here do not come together. Now this one isn't so bad, I can squeeze it and yes, they come together. The ones that I returned, no matter how hard I squeezed, I couldn't get the cutters to close because something happened in the heat treatment, whatever it is. The point is that they were not usable. This is a major problem. And I've talked to a lot of people. I've seen a lot of comments on my videos. This is really common. They need to fix this, and they need to fix this really badly. Or just give up on this lineup entirely. Just scrap bolster, Wingman, and Sidekick, and instead make a version of the curl with a saw. Which, oh my goodness, that would be amazing. Can we do that, please? Like immediately? That would be incredible. I would absolutely buy that right now. Hell yeah. But in the meantime, the Flash, this is no joke. They have to do something and do something quick because this is getting dangerously good and is really like a serious contender in the marketplace. Now, there's one other thing. Now I need a little prying tool here to get this out for the first time. They also have on it a whistle and ferrocerium rod. Now, if you notice, it's a little bit difficult to get that out. You can actually take some of this plastic away right here and you actually make it a little bit easier to pull out. That's what I would recommend. That's what I'm going to do with it eventually, but that does work. Now, this has a ferrocerium rod tucked into the whistle, and it can then be used as a handle. Take out the saw, strike it on the back, boom, there you go, right? Similar to the Leatherman Signal. Now, this is a $140 tool now, I believe, and this thing, kind of annoying, because all the plastic that they have here, which of course is trying to hold onto that ferrocerium rod, gets in the way. You get about 30 strikes on this before it starts hitting that plastic. And once it does, you're going to have trouble getting a consistent strike. So as far as a whistle and ferrocerium rod is concerned, excuse me, the Roxxon does a much, much better job, and the whistle works very good as well. Now, that's not to say that this is directly in competition with the Signal. This has a sharpener on top of it. It has a really cool lock that holds everything together. I like that. It also lets it ballast song very easily, something I also really like. And it has a hammer with a attachment for a carabiner. It's also, because it's been skeletonized, it's also a little bit lighter than the Roxxon. So it's not a direct one-to-one, but it's still something that might be of interest to the same group of people. And the tool set on this tool, well, it's really, really good. And then you can pay $5 for their little bit converter, and now all of a sudden you have a bit kit to go with this as well. Yeah, they're going to have to do something serious. I think they really do. Now, I could actually buy the Roxxon Flash and a Wazoo Viking Whetstone. You don't have to get it with the spark, but the Viking Whetstone, and I'd still be like $30 or $40 cheaper than the Leatherman Signal. And then I'd have a sharpener that can sharpen basically everything, and then I'd have every other component that would normally be on the Signal. I'm rooting for Leatherman, I am. In fact, I'm rooting for everyone. I really just want to say this. I'm rooting for everyone, but I am not for complacency, and I'm not for good enough mentality. If you believe it to be good enough, that's not going to work long-term in your business. If you let something just simmer for 20 years without any improvements, it's inevitably going to be beat. And I don't want to see Leatherman go in this direction. I really want to see them continue to be the leaders that I know they can be. And I would happily help them if they asked. But they can't just sit here and do nothing. That's what they've been doing. They are no longer showing up to any of the expos whatsoever so people can talk with them. They're not letting people know when something is discontinued, like they did with the P2 and the P4. Yeah, go look. And I hope and I wish for them like good success, but if they don't do something and do something real quick, yeah, I think they're going to run into some problems. That's pretty much all I want to say today. And I know this video, I'm very curious to see what you guys say down in the comments, but it just has to be said. It's been on my mind so much lately, and I just need to say it. I'm curious to hear from you guys down below what you think. After seeing John Gadget's video on Victorinox, this has been basically constantly in my forefront of my mind, and I definitely wanted to start talking about it. As always, thank you for your time, and we'll talk again soon.